Hello guys, welcome to another video in this series of tutorial on React. In this video, you will learn to fetch the data or make API calls in ReactJS. To fetch data in ReactJS from API calls, you can use the built-in fetch function or popular third-party libraries like Axios or some other. In this tutorial, you will learn to make API calls using built-in fetch function in ReactJS. You will have a database in which data is residing and an API calls such as C# or node.js API calls which will fetch the required data from database. And then finally you will have a function or code in the UI part which will interact with the API calls and get the data. Here we have a React as a front end where we need to call the APIs. Usually while developing the project as discussed, there will be some API calls such as C# or some other API calls which will give you a data in JSON format. As we don't have APIs here, for this example I will take JSON file which is already generated and put in a server. For this video I am using JSON file from dummy JSON website as shown here. As you can see here, there is lot of data which is in JSON format and the title of this JSON file is products. To start the process, first open Visual Studio Code. Here we'll create a dedicated component for this example. I will name this one as data fetching component. So here let's quickly have a basic structure of React functional component. So now we have basic structure of React functional component here. At the top we have imported the React and we have a functional component which will return us one title which we have defined by using header1. And at the bottom we have exported this one so that we can import this one in our app.js. So let's add that one so that we can see this in the browser. Here we have added the component which we have created just now. Let's save this one and go back to browser before proceeding to further steps. As you can observe here, we have a title by name data fetching component. So let's go back to code editor. First thing which we need to do is we need to import use effect and use state at the top, which we are going to use it later while writing the logic. Then within functional component, add use state which will receive null initial value. And this use state gives back the current state and a function. So let's store that one in a variable. For that one, let me add constant data, comma set data. Now use state will return us the data in this variable and a function set data. And the next step is as we are doing external calls here, we need to make use of use effect. So whatever the function or the calls which we are going to do, that should be in use effect. This use effect hook will fetch the data when the component mounts. This hook allows you to perform side effects in functional components. Next step is writing the logic for fetching the data from JSON, whichever is residing in the server now. For that one, let me create one asynchronous call here first. Then within this asynchronous call, we'll add try and catch a block. This catch a block will capture the error if the application is unable to fetch the data from the server. Then we'll display the error in console log window. So this is a message which we are going to display if there is any error in fetching the data. Within this try block, next the major step is we need to fetch the JSON data. As we know earlier, here we are using fetch inbuilt function which is in ReactJS. So this is a function. Within this one, we need to mention the URL from where we need to bring the data. In this example, we are going to bring the data from this server. So let's copy the URL of this one and go back to code editor and mention the URL within this fetch function. So as we are using asynchronous calls, let's add await and the data or the response whichever we are getting, let's save that one in a constant response. Once we get the response, the next step is we need to convert this one to JSON format. For that one, let me create one constant and create a variable JSON data, and whatever the response we got here, let's convert that one to JSON format using .json function. The next step is, as we have a function of useStateHook set data, we need to set the data to this data constant variable. For that one, let's call this function set data, and whatever the data which we have converted in JSON format, let's feed that one into this function. So this will take care of assigning this data to the data variable. If you are done with this one, we are pretty much completed with the main logic of this one. The final step is we need to display this one in our application. For that one, let's go to return statement where we have JSX code. Within this one, let me add some code here for iterating through the data which we have got here. Here we are using a ternary operator. The first thing is it will check for the data. If there is a data, it will execute this function. If it's not there, it will show the message in the browser as loading data. And within this true condition, here we have a map function which will iterate through the data whichever we have received from the URL. So when there is a data, that means there is a true condition. So this code will get executed. While it is iterating through the items, we will add each item's ID to the key and title to the value of the list items. So the complete data which we will receive, that will be displayed in our application in the list format. Another thing which we need to take care here is whenever we are fetching data from a server, we need to be cautious about the names of the JSON files or the database. Here in this example, we have a name for this JSON as products. So whenever we are trying to iterate through this data, this map object will try to iterate through the object for that one. So let me add product's name. So now this map will iterate through these products and give us the data whichever we want to display it here. So let's save this file and go back to browser. Now you can observe that API call is fetched properly and all the titles from the JSON file are iterated using map and are displayed in the page. So these are the simple steps which we need to follow to fetch the data or call get API in ReactJS. You can extend this feature as per your requirement and fetch multiple data values and display as and when required in your React application. So that's it guys for this video. Thanks for watching this. If you like this video, please click on like button, share it with others and subscribe to my channel.